Okay, this idea is for simple mechanics, and basically, what simple mechanics is it thinks that magnets and forces and electricity can replace moving part motors, moving part machinery, pulleys and wires in a lot of ways, and are safer to use. And unlike a lot of moving part motors and stuff, even electrical motors which have a magnet in it, they break down a lot. They tend to break down a lot compared to switching forces on and off and switching um, like a magnetic force, fluctuating magnetic forces against other magnetic forces. And so basically you take like a good example would be like a bicycle where you pedal a bike. Now you could actually pedal the bike without a chain. So normally you pedal the bike and you turn the first gear to turn the back gears on your back wheel, and the bike moves when you turn the back gears on the back wheel. It turns the back wheel and moves your bike. What you could do is pedal in a force, pedal in a magnetic force, and have the magnetic force now turn the wheels on your bike. Have the magnetic force now travel down to the back of your bike and move the wheels on your bike. And unlike a chain, this isn't going to break down as often. You're not going to need to oil this chain as often. It's literally going to be a force that can't be stopped unless unless you adjust the shape altogether, unless you break the shape, right? Unless you break the frame of the bike, basically, or the gear frame of the bike, the pedal frame of the bike. And it's about looking at getting things to not just rotate in a singular direction, but also flip. So it flips on its side, flips on its other side. It can rotate on either of those. You can flip it and rotate it. You can flip it on its other side and rotate it like this. And so it's like almost like a sphere. It's almost like a sphere that you can twist and turn in any direction. And with forces, with magnetic forces, um, be able to do it repetitively without problem, without issue. Now, here's where you do have an issue is on things like a weight. Things like the weight of that sphere, the weight of the sphere on the joint and what it's carrying on the other side. It's going to matter. It's going to matter a fair bit. Like with a servo motor, you get by that by having bigger motors, right? You have a bigger servo motor. Like a servo has a magnet, basically a magnet, two magnets. We'll say two magnets for the motor. Basically, a motor is kind of like two magnets in a way, and in a big coil, right? And it forces a circular direction. It forces a turning direction with a magnet inside a magnet, sort of turning, forcing the outer one, forcing the inner one to turn, sort of deal. And so what it does is it builds powerful magnets to carry the weight. You know what I mean? It builds bigger, powerful magnets to carry the weight. So you'd have to do the same on your multi-purpose joint or your The other thing, multi-purpose joint is you could use things like gears. You could take a new look at gears and whether you can spin gears without actually touching the gears, whether you spin gears with magnetic forces. And the shape of a gear might have a way of making spinning things magnetically easier because it's got the outer piece and the inner piece, and a lot of times you need to switch your magnet on and off to spin things, right? So putting like two gears beside each other, then riding the force up and down, the spokes, if you will, the gear heads, or not the gear heads. That's something totally different. But the gear teeth. The gear teeth are magnets that you ride the magnetic charge up, and if you put these side by side, it's going to repel. It's going to repel the other magnet or the other gear teeth to the open holes, and then it's going to attract to line up the gear teeth, and then it's going to repel, and you choose like a downward direction. It's going to repel into the holes, and now you switch it on and off, or switch it and reverse it, just like electrical current, AC current reverses. So you reverse the current and you'll switch the direction of the magnet, and you have like a downward bias or something, or an upward bias, and now you just have two gears that aren't even touching each other but are spinning based on the magnetic charge being sent to them, flickering on and off, right? So it's also about like having two flat pieces, two square gears, two squares, and fluctuating the magnetic force to cause movement or forcible movement. And it's also confined. Like if you have confined movement, you're now generating more force and more strength. So if you have two squares touching each other, and you're turning on and off the repelling magnet and pushing them further and further together, further and further apart or whatever, and then you're reversing it and attracting it and putting it closer and closer together, that's your strength right there. That's like something that can be used for torque or for strength or for power of the motor or the moving part system. So this is just a general idea of moving into simple mechanics and using things like magnets and forces of magnets and other forces, if possible, to replace moving part motors and moving part machineries that break. Replace them with ones that use switches and can be used just like a keyboard on a computer. You can press the keystroke millions of times and it still works. And you notice that with electrical, certain electrical parts last for hundreds of years already. Like the original electrical coils and stuff still work as a coil and stuff. So, but anyway, so this is about magnets replacing messy motors, simple mechanics, and magnets replacing messier motors.